Emotional damage.
I'm gonna come.
Last night's interview was absolutely insane. The left is saying the same things and the right is saying the same things. The right is all saying it was an absolute train wreck. Kamala Harris is ripped to shreds for her word salad. CNN softball interview. Ex-Obama strategist gives brutal verdict on Trump debate. Shout out. Okay. And then CNN is like, you know what? She explained her fracking situation on the flip-flopping, and she's actually going to appoint a Republican to the cabinet. Isn't that cool? She's reaching across the aisle and touching face, and she's going to not engage in Trump's identity politics. The phone call that changed her life, and blames Trump on the border. And Walt says, you know what? He owns his mistakes on his sleeves. But what is it really? What is it? Was it one of the worst interviews of all time? Or was it just so refreshing to actually see a politician be super real in the moment? How do we think through these things, people? What do we even do? It was absolutely ridiculous. I was dumbfounded the entire time. I think the first takeaway for me is seeing how much worse of a speaker the president could be compared to the vice president. Kamala Harris is a train wreck. Kamala Harris will never do one of these interviews again. I could literally feel her nervous, anxious energy on every single question. So much so that you could see Dana Bash getting nervous about asking questions or pushing back. She started to push back at the beginning, and I was sitting there confused, like, oh my God, Dana Bash is becoming a journalist. She's asking the tough questions. She's not letting these politicians do these political lie strategies where they just deflect like freaking psychopaths. And then we all pretend like we didn't actually hear the question. She actually held them to the fire at the beginning, and it was great to see. And then you could kind of feel Dana Bash getting a little nervous. Well, I don't want her to not like me. Maybe they'll never do an interview like this again. And I want her to like me. This is CNN after all. We're supposed to be libtards. So you could feel that nervous energy at the beginning. There was points where Kamala was looking down. I can't tell who looked at their notes more, Kamala Harris or Dana Bash. Yes, maybe Kamala Harris had her notes on her legs, but there was definitely some sort of note action happening. I mean, she was looking down so much, like all the time. It was like, great question. It's okay. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Either she was looking down, or she was just nervous and didn't want to look Dana in the eye because she was lying. I don't know which one it is, but it's all not a good look. My favorite moment last night was the whole fracking debate. And Dana Bash calling her out on fracking and saying, hey, you said that you were going to ban fracking. And then she's like, she never said I changed my mind. She just said, my values have never changed. My values have always stayed the same. I am what I am.
I'm gonna come.
This is the moment right here. Watch this very, very carefully. It's just so great to see. Thanks to Maze for putting these two together.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. You know, we have to just acknowledge that the residual impact of fracking is enormous in terms of the impact on the health and safety of communities.
Right.
I think about this issue through the lens of my baby nieces.
Okay.
Who are 1.5 and 3 years old.
Right.
And when I look at those babies,
yeah,
and I think about what the world will be like in 20 years if we don't
tell
act,
us,
I'm really afraid.
Same.
And as it relates to those Republicans in Congress, where I've now been for 2.5 years, every one of those members need to look at the babies, the grandbabies in
Look
their
at the
lives,
babies.
and then look in the mirror and ask themselves, why have they failed to act?
Why did you fail to act?
And in 2019, you said, quote, there is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
That's why I've
Do you
changed.
still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the
Right.
debate stage in 2020
Idiot.
that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
Exactly. It's a perfect example of how this woman has doesn't have a platform. She's going with the wind. She's feeling it in the moment. And there's a point. I think that Democrats actually like that. They want somebody who's this fickle because it reminds them of themselves. Don't say that. Don't say that. Democrats aren't emotional animals. They're different. Oh, yes, they are. Oh, yes, they are. Democrats are very emotional people. Passage of time and failure, says Valerie. They're very emotional people. So much so, even Tim Walz says he lied about his stolen valor comments because, guess it, he wears his emotions on his sleeve. Oh, Tim Walz was my favorite last night. Watching this psychopath just rip lies over and over and over again gave me
emotional damage.
I was like, okay, Dana's going to ask him a question. Let's watch Tim Walz spin it, deflect it, lie to her face. And then the dumb American public is going to go, oh, pretty good answer, huh? In your face, Dana Bash. You never stood a chance. But it just reminds me of how psychopathic you have to be to actually be a politician in this world. Listen to this.
Country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard.
Right.
You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone.
Oh.
A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Sorry.
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and
You lie?
I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So
Wait, we're talking
I think
about you-
people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again,
A
my
liar?
record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And
What?
the idea that you said that you were in war.
Yeah.
Did you misspeak, as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar's not always correct. But again, if it's not.
My grammar is not always correct. Bitch, no one's talking about grammar. God. You know what? He's actually a really good guy. He's like a father figure for us. This guy is so willy-nilly willing to lie that how dare you call him out on it? That is like the most psychopathic answer I've ever heard in my life. You lied about saying you went to war, carrying weapons of war. How do you feel about lying? You know what? I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I care. My record speaks for itself. We're like, no, we're literally asking you, why did you lie about stolen valor? You did it. And then Dana goes on in this same interview to ask Tim Walz about IVF and lying about IVF because his wife and him didn't get IVF. They got a different kind of treatment. But why would a politician lie about IVF? Because he knows he has to say certain key words like he's some kind of algorithm in order for the public to understand and connect with him. So he's willing to lie about things in order to drive his message. He's willing to lie about carrying weapons of war in a battle. He's willing to lie about IVF, and he's willing to lie about his intoxication record. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Maybe you're not such a good guy. Maybe you're like Joe Biden, where the left constantly says, Joe Biden, he's like Uncle Joe Biden. He's Uncle Joe. He's literally the nicest guy I've ever met in my life. But if you actually look at the record, he seems like a psychopathic guy that only cares about him and his family rising to the top. So let's not get it twisted, Democrats. Let's not get it twisted. This wasn't a wonderful, amazing interview. Also, CNN putting this live sticker during the conversation was absolutely ridiculous. It wasn't a live interview. Yes, Dana Bash was live to give you commentary on top of the interview. Also, the interview was 18 minutes long. And they had all this filler around the 18 minutes with commercials and breaks and constant other things. It was just like ridiculous. And then we get to this part where I know, look, I know what I do, and I do it well. I study characters and I study people, how they respond to things. And this story about learning about Joe Biden stepping down is one of the biggest lies, or, okay, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. It's one of the biggest lies I've ever heard in my life, or she's so bored of saying it over and over again. She feels like she has to emotionally pretend like she's telling you for the first time. I don't know which one it is. It's probably the latter. But I'm going to say she's a liar because, look, so we're going to study this. So they asked her, when you got the phone call from Joe Biden, what was going on? And she said, and I quote multiple times, to be honest, I'm going to be frank. To be honest. If anyone is talking to you and you ask them a question and they say, to be honest, I'm just going to be honest. Can I be honest? If people are doing that, they're lying to you. They're coming up with the lie as they tell you to be honest. They say these filler words in order to divert attention and put it onto you. Oh, now the attention's on you. To be honest, can I be honest? And then boom, it's on her. And now she's still thinking, great, I'm going to put it all together. So listen to this. It's just ridiculous. Okay. And there's a moment that you can clearly tell was a filler.
And we had just had
this part.
Pancakes and, Auntie, can I have more bacon? Yes, I'll make you more bacon. And then
I don't believe that. Keep going.
And we were sitting down to do a puzzle.
I definitely don't believe that. She stops, she looks, she smiles. Why does she do that? She does that because she knows it's kind of like, why are you telling me this? And she's doing, look, I'm connecting. We did a puzzle. Yeah, we were puzzling. We're dorks. We're freaking dorks. She stops. She looks at him because she goes, I don't know what, she says, I don't know what I'm actually saying right now, but I'm going to keep going with this.
And the phone rang and it was Joe Biden. And and he told me what he had said.
Did you see that? She went from laughing to, and it was Joe Biden. That is the worst acting I've ever seen.
And the phone rang and it was Joe Biden. And he told me what he had decided to do. I asked him, are you sure?
Did you like that pause? I did too. Are you sure you want to do it?
And he said yes.
Wow.
And
amazing.
And that's how I learned about it.
And the Academy of the Award goes to Kamala Harris. And that's how I learned about it. I got the phone call from Joe Biden and it broke my heart. Yeah, I'm still reeling with the idea that this is actually happening and I'm becoming president because I was installed as VP and now I'm going to be installed as president. I mean, elected. My bad.
That's how I learned about it.
And what about the endorsement? Did you ask for it?
And he was very clear that he was going to support me.
So when he called to tell you, he said, I'm pulling out of the race and I'm going to support you.
Well, my first thought was not about me, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah, right. To be honest with you guys, to be honest, in that moment, my first thought wasn't about me. It was about my kids. It was about climate change. It was about the devastating effects unless we end fracking now.
I'm going to come.
It wasn't about me.
My first thought was about him,
Wow.
to be honest.
To be honest, if I could just be honest, can I be honest? I'm going to be honest. Okay. Kamala, you're not on trial. You're on CNN, where you're loved and respected as an idiot. Okay? You're okay.
I think history is going to show a number of things about Joe Biden's presidency.
You've already said that 100 times. No, it's not. No, history's not going to well, maybe we'll rewrite it. Democrats are celebrating this interview because she actually answered some sort of questions, and you're supposed to be excited about the fact that there's a candidate out there that can answer questions, because Joe Biden couldn't do it to save the life of him. He had no idea how to answer questions. And so they're celebrating this like this some catastrophic, like mind-blowing event of how great she is. Again, and I can't emphasize this enough, I have never in my life, seen where the vice president is a better politician than the president, a better speaker than the actual president. Usually you have a president who's like the top dog, and then the vice president is like this weak person, or just like in the shadows. It's going to be the opposite, because she is a train wreck. And people can see right through her. She's not a psychopath enough, like Tim Walz, to just lie through her own teeth. She shows too many cues for those of us that pay attention to body language and the way people speak to know that she is lying, and she is coming up with this stuff on the fly. And so much so that, when she talks about Ukraine, Ukraine is a country. AI is 2 letters, artificial and intelligence. It's like, you're inauthentic. You're not this mamala that everyone's pumped up about. You're like a nervous train wreck everywhere you go. And it's okay to be a nervous train wreck, but sometimes maybe jobs aren't for you. She had that video going around that she says she dreams of the day that she can open up a restaurant where she can have 3 meals and just close midweek or whatever. The typical millennial hipster eating experience. It's not a brand new thing. She is a terrible candidate, and she's always been a bad candidate. So if Democrats push her to victory, we are Have a wonderful day. Valerie says dishonesty is such a crazy word. Yeah, it is. It's a lie. It's an all-out lie. So the right is saying it's a train wreck, and the left is saying that, she answered questions. She explained herself. Tim Walz explained himself. It's one of the most catastrophic interviews I've seen in a while, and we'll just see what kind of bubbles each side is in today by how they respond to this. How will you respond to this interview? Have a great rest of your day. I'm going to work. Peace out, y'all. Have a wonderful day. Let's get the music back on, huh? Okay, it's not turning on. Have a wonderful freaking day, dude. Woo.
I'm gonna come.
Enjoy it. Enjoy the catastrophic events that'll end America forever.